I'm going to go ahead and explain to you creatards how evolution works, or how it functions in nature. Um, you say that your creator, your creation science is perfect because it comes from your creator, and he's perfect. I guess not, but he says he is, but I don't know. If he was a perfect creator, first of all, there wouldn't be genetic defects. We can look at these on a genetic level, by the way. And there are genes in DNA. And in DNA, there are certain proteins that produce different effects, proteins and acids, and call amino acids, okay? Things like that, chemical reactions that take place between, somewhere between each telomere. You Now, when things evolve, evolution is kind of clumsy because things as things devolve or evolve. Sorry, you guys devolve. Um, as things evolve, there are going to be a certain number of genetic defects. There's going to be mistakes. There's always going to be mistakes. A kid born with a flipper instead of an arm. Not because of chemicals, but because genetic defect. There's a disease. I can't remember what it's called, but in layman's terms, it means lattice work or something like that. Where the bone, where bone tissue continues to grow. You get a bruise. Well, these people, these few. I mean, it's a very rare condition. But these people, they get a bruise. It turns into bone. Not on the outside of the skin, in the muscle. There was a girl. She had a lump in her arm. She couldn't figure out what it was, so she got an X-ray, and they saw bone in there, and they couldn't figure it out, so they removed it, and it actually made the condition worse. So that's a genetic defect, and that's something that's passed down from generation to generation once the defect is actually ingrained. And they say that, and they can actually prove this with every experience that you have, with everything that you eat, everything that you touch, see, smell, think about, whatever. Your DNA changes. The proteins are administered in a different way. Your what are like axons and your dendrite, your dendrites, they switch places in your brain with every experience, because there's got to be you something that changes up here in order for you to understand whatever it is you experienced. Now, in nature, uh, you'll have like a region that's got like a food source for particular types of animals. Well, those food sources aren't indefinite. They don't last forever. So when a food source runs out, there is a particular species that eats on that food source. When it runs out, they have to eat something else. So as time goes by, if as time goes by, these species will adapt to the new food source. And the adaptations are very slow. One small little tiny adaptation here, one little small tiny adaptation there. There you got like a different color of feathers, or your skin is different, or you're a different color. Altogether, your eyes are different in a different fashion. Like, actually, as a species, our eyes are some of the worst. You know, so, and that's how we didn't evolve. We've actually, okay. If you think about it, we're designed to walk on rugged surfaces because of the way that our heels move, and our ankles have particular pivots that you won't see in the other primate species. We're primates. You can go ahead and deny that all you want to. We are fucking apes. We're just a different order of ape. You can't say we're a higher order of ape. We're all everything in this world is pretty much on an equal level. We all want to survive, and that's the one driving factor of evolution is the drive to maintain one's quality of life. Eating, sleeping, whatever. But this is a universe that's full sole function is predation. Like a black hole, it absorbs light and dust, and then it produces an energy beam, which fuels some other function. Just like there are, bugs on your skin that eat you. But they're beneficial to your health. Some are not, but most are. The ones that live on you. You're a host to so many different types of organisms that are actually beneficial. And then you're also host to all sorts of organisms that will eventually break your body down. But they eat you, and they produce energy that something else thrives off of, like methane, and carbon, and ammonia. These different things are utilized by different creatures, by different. Nothing's wasted except for by us. And I would say that theists waste their brain. They waste their intellect. They give it to somebody else. I've been debating on the whole creation science versus evolution for the last couple of days, and it's gotten to the point where, look, dude, just I'm not an expert in evolutionary science. I'm actually more knowledgeable about religion. But at least I understand both sides of the argument. You guys don't. You just talk. That's all you know how to do is talk instead of listening. You always listen with your answer running, and that's not listening because your brain, your functions are being interrupted by what you want to say. You want to one up. You always want to one up. Got to one up you. That's a my God is better than your God argument, and that goes way back, even before Judaism even existed. There was always that my idea is better than your idea. My daddy's bigger than yours. That's fucking silly, isn't it? If you stand back and you look at yourself critically, just glance at yourself from an outside perspective. See yourself how somebody else may see you, or at least try to take a secondary stance to yourself and be critical of what you think. Be critical of what you know, or what you think you know. I would go so far as to say that we only know how we feel in our own skin. Other than that, we have to talk. That's what we do. We're a communicative species. So, we say what's on our mind. And we philosophize and we talk about current events and religion and relationships, politics, and all these things. But a lot of people who, this is a good example of how to understand the other argument. A lot of people who are against the legalization of marijuana have never smoked marijuana. Never. Not once. But they won't do the research either. They won't look into research. They won't, they just add their opinion. Oh, I think that's wrong. Well, I don't give a fuck what you think. Look at the research. Because the research is going to prove that you're a fucking idiot, that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because these are, you have these scientific committees where there are a number of different scientific fields examining the same thing. In evolution, you have chemistry, you have biochemistry, you have organic chemistry, you have um, you have paleontology, you have taxonomy. There's all sorts of these different scientific fields. Um, you know, uh, what would they call it? Investigate. You just can't reject the other side because you think they're wrong. You that's, and I had to explain the difference between you know belief and knowing. A belief is not knowledge. A belief is um, a presupposition. That you don't have to have evidence in order for it to exist. Now, I've had them say, "Oh, well, evolution is a belief," but it's not a belief. It's not a belief. Um, well, how do you know it's true? I don't know that it's true. It just happens to be the best naturalistic, explanation. We live in a natural world, so I'm going to accept the natural explanation over the supernatural explanation. It doesn't mean that I reject the idea completely. At least I look into the other side of my argument. I look into it. I want to be able to have like a fair discussion. I don't want to be able, I don't want to have to get into these shouting matches and have to contend with heaven and hell and omnipotent beings that are dictating how I think. That's basically what it is a system of control. Um, you know, yeah, I was just watching this documentary where they're talking about, well, we like to get to the kids before a certain age. Well, we get them between the ages of 4 and 14 because that's the best age to get them. Well, that's fucking shady as fuck, isn't it? I just proposed the idea that what if you raise a child in an environment that is devoid of religion and certain forms of science until they are old enough to have gotten to a grade level where they've been taught about critical thinking, which is usually about 8th or ninth grade. Now, math excluded from that idea. You need math. Everybody needs math. We need to learn. We need to know what quantitative values are. So math is important. Uh, you know, um, but evolution is not a belief. You need that. But you really don't start doing any real experimentation with evolution until, or even, you know, you really don't see any documented scientific experimentation until about college level. But you have to have like an overview of it. But that can wait till like 8th or 9th grade, right? Now Christianity, philosophical beliefs, religious beliefs and stuff like that, 'cause you should be held off, until a child can step back and look at it and say, well, that's bullshit. On either side of it, they should be able to choose for themselves and not be indoctrinated into any idea. You um, you're stealing a child's mind. You're stealing their brain. You're stealing their childhood, you're forcing your shit on them. It's, oh well, if you don't believe it, you're going to hell. Well, that's a horrible thing to say to a small child. That's horrible. That's terrible. And I get sick of hearing kids like, you know, um, I get tired of hearing them quote John 3:16. They're just regurgitating something that they heard from their parents or something that they heard from their pastor. You know, it's not really anything that's worth anything. Now, when you're talking about evolution, they're not regurgitating anything because new facts arise constantly. You know, and you say, oh, it's just a theory. Well, no, what you believe is just a theory. In science, a theory is a completely different thing. You know, it's a body of facts that support a hypothesis. If you do not like the explanation, then just don't fucking, you know, if you don't like it, don't fucking comment on it. You know, fucking shut the fuck up for a minute and get an accredited education before you even like entertain the idea of talking shit about it. You know, I don't talk shit about religion because I don't understand it. It's because I fully understand it. You know, I was a Christian for, well, I don't know. I started going to church when I was a little kid, man, like 4 or 5 years old, and I stayed with the church until I was in my mid 20s. So, you know, about 20, 25, you know, and you know, when I was in college, I started reading and started going to classes and learning about um, higher forms of critical thinking, and I studied things that were outside of my major, which was graphic design, by the way. But I studied a lot of theism. I read into the Upanishads and Rig Veda, and I read into Buddhism, and I read into Baha'i and Zoroastrianism, Jainism, if you want, the Jains. Um, I've studied the sadhus, the renunciants. You know, just I'm just gonna keep going with it, man. And if you don't like it, get fucked. Have a good day.